Let's go beyond the box score with Jackie Ray. Jackie Ray, how are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't choose the news. Well, I choose the news. I can't create the news. And sometimes news happens for reasons I don't quite understand. Last week, we started talking about this phenomenon as if it was like a one-off or, not a frequent event where people were throwing sex toys on the court.
Right.
Which could have injured a player, which could have been very dangerous in a general sense. And I thought it was just going to die down. And then we later found out during the week, we didn't get a chance to find out, but it was, I don't know, some tech bros or some crypto bros.
Crypto bros. Yep.
I guess trying to be funny or something.
It worked. That cryptocurrency that they created is taking off. So it worked.
I guess, but then they kept doing it. Since that time, 2 people have been arrested, and police are looking for a third person because a 12-year-old girl was struck by one of these sex toys thrown at a WNBA game in Brooklyn. And I guess she's going to be okay. She might be traumatized for life.
How would she not be okay? It's plastic.
No, it's
synthetic.
It's not plastic. I think it's like a polyurethane.
Okay, polyfake.
Rubber,
it's
material.
Yeah,
it bounces. Plastic doesn't bounce.
It's not designed to harm, is what I'm saying.
That's debatable.
It's designed to pleasure. Sorry, that was probably too far. Anyway, carry on. What were you saying?
Lost my train of thought. Tony just put his head down. I was like, I don't want to be part of this at all. Don't put me in this. My point is, the WNBA was not hurt by the added publicity. Yes, it's unseemly, but bottom line, it's probably good for the sport. I mean, it was mean-spirited, and I wouldn't advise it. But it's not like the WNBA is going to turn down the attention. I mean, theoretically, and people say, oh, Jackie, that's not true. But this is a phrase that I actually do live by. There's no such thing as bad press. It's all in how you spin it. I don't know. Diddy had
Well, I mean, that's not bad press. That's bad actions that the press started talking. That's different. Okay. But when people are just talking about you and there's no harm, no foul, nothing nefarious is happening to people because of the actions you took, thereby getting the press, there's no such thing as bad press. This is just a juvenile prank that is causing people to once again talk about the WNBA. That's not a bad thing.
I've noticed that the WNBA is leading conversations on ESPN and Fox Sports. It's on the landing page of ESPN and FoxSports.com.
Right.
So if anything, they've earned their way to the front page, as they say. They're now starting the negotiations in earnest for the new CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. And now I want to kind of mix some stories here. I was going to talk about this next story.
Okay.
But I'm going to start it now because I don't know if you heard about the story where Paramount and the TKO group reached a 7-year deal for all UFC events in U.S.
Yes.
The UFC is notorious for not paying its fighters.
Correct.
Even before this deal. And I could get into the politics or what it looks like given this deal happened, Dana White, his political connections, and also what the president did to intervene with CBS and Paramount. There are a lot of layers to this story, but this is something I want to get your comment on. UFC fighters make as little as $10,000 to $30,000 per fight.
It's ridiculous.
Fighters have to cover training expenses, medical costs, and other associated fees. The UFC, prior to this deal, generated an annual revenue of $1.4 billion last year.
Yep.
Average UFC fighter salary, about $140,000 per year, but most fighters usually make closer to $51,000. Now, let's compare that to the WNBA. Now, that's why I'm putting these stories together. The average WNBA salary for this season is estimated to be around $102,000.
Correct.
And the minimum salary is $62,000. The WNBA generated $200 million during the previous season, the first season of Caitlin Clark. Why is it, how is it that the WNBA is paying better per athlete than the UFC?
Because they're demanding it. So that's what's happening. They, in the last collective bargaining agreement, shout out to Nneka Ogwumike, who's the president of the WNBA Basketball Players Association. Very highly educated, and she pushes for certain things. So this is what I try to explain to people. When you're seeing players at the WNBA All-Star game that are wearing a shirt that says, pay us what you owe us, the WNBA is, when you talk about broke, everybody always says the WNBA is broke. You're broke and rich people broke, not the same broke. It is not the same broke. And so just stop saying that, because that just shows how little you understand finances beyond your own. That's first and foremost. So the players are asking for money from this influx of revenue that they are receiving, and they are fighting for it.
Let's break it down. When you say revenue, that has to do with merchandising. That has name, image, and likeness on a professional level. This commercial revenue.
And the big one, TV deals. Yeah. And so that's the thing. People forget the rise of Jake Paul came out of UFC players not being paid enough and being very verbal about Dana White being a crook, and not only not paying fighters collectively as much, being discriminatory on which fighters he would pay more than others. But they didn't fight loud enough, and they didn't fight long enough.
They're not unionized yet, are they?
They are not. And so that's another problem. Nor have they fought, pun intended, to become unionized.
And the irony is not lost on me. Right. It's like, how is it you fight harder in the ring than you do in the boardroom?
And this is something that we've seen in the fighting world forever, is people going into the ring, risking their lives. We know what happens whether you win that fight or not. We know the long-term effects of you consistently being in that ring and consistently boxing. There's long-term health risks that come with that.
I got to jump in there, because the lie that was told, and it was a lie, that MMA was safer than boxing because it didn't go 12 rounds or 15 rounds, and you weren't subject to as many headshots. Now that we've had the UFC for a good 30 plus years, we are seeing the long-term effects.
And the people that didn't know that was a lie out the jump, seeing all the blood in the ring, fight in and fight out. This is why people get away with stuff, because people are uneducated about topics, and they won't educate themselves on the topics. And so, but at the same time, when you have a fan base that just wants to see these types of fights, and you have these fighters that won't fight for equal pay or even just pay, then who's to blame in that situation? By all means, it should be the players that are getting into that ring that should be the loudest. Or here's the other part: stop fighting. If there's no product, Dana White has no choice but to acquiesce to your request.
But here's the difference between the UFC, which is modeled more like at the NFL. UFC is the brand which is promoted. There is no fighter which is bigger than the brand.
Correct.
Same with the NFL. It's the shield. It's not the individual players. You know about them, but they're not promoted above the league. Right. It's different with the NBA. You know, LeBron is bigger than the brand of the NBA.
Absolutely.
And that's intentional as far as the UFC, because that's why fighters are so disposable. John Bones Jones, doesn't matter if he doesn't want to fight anymore. It's the UFC. They have a fight every month, $89.95. Yep. People are still going to buy. Why? Because to their credit, they still have better fights on average, matchups of people who want to see than boxing.
Correct. Because even if you have a long ticket and there's a couple of bad fights on there, there's a couple of great fights. You get to see fighters you've never seen before, and they're great. And now that part I love about the UFC, that you can just see people that I ain't even heard of this person, and all of a sudden
they're fighting their heart out,
and they look fantastic. I also like how they're promoting, women in the sport as well. So they're doing some good things. This is not to be completely disparaging. However, when you are making the kind of money that you make, and you walk yourself into every photo op, Dana White, and make it look like you're some sort of savior, and you're paying people peanuts, something's fundamentally wrong with you.
KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're still going beyond the box score with Jackie Ray. And Jackie Ray, let's talk a little bit of NFL football, but it's not really about the football itself. It's about what's happening outside of football. Shedeur Sanders, you know something about him. He played for Colorado. You're from Colorado, for those who may not know that. Shedeur Sanders, I think he and his father made some mistakes, which led to him being drafted, I think, in the 5th round, as opposed to potentially number 1 overall. He had his first preseason game with the Browns. Did very well. Yeah, he threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Looked like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, Shedeur Sanders. They just released the depth chart for week 2.
Oh, I didn't see this.
See, I thought I was going to surprise you.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders is still number 4 on the depth chart. And you say, what does that mean? In other words, he's rated as the 4th quarterback. If this were an actual game, he'd be 4th to come in if need be.
And can you list the names ahead of him, please?
Oh, my gosh. Let me find it real quick.
Because that's the thing that's going to get me, because there's no possible way that they're...
Joe Flacco.
Oh, God. Stop right there.
Kenny Pickett.
Stop.
and Dillon Gabriel.
Come on.
Joe Flacco, longtime veteran. I think he won a ring with the
Ravens.
With the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Pickett, he's a journeyman quarterback. Mm-hmm. Dillon Gabriel, also a rookie, drafted in Shedeur Sanders. Now, let me play both sides of this. Shedeur Sanders had a great 3 quarters of an exhibition game where he was not playing the 3 quarters against the number ones of the defense.
Correct.
So I'll try to keep it in context, but I do believe he did enough to at least move up to the number 3 on the draft board. Now, we're not going to go full football on this, but there is a social commentary here. Is Shedeur Sanders being treated unfairly for reasons having nothing to do with football?
Absolutely. And this is the problem that I always have when people say, oh, just keep it about the game. Just keep it about football. It's never just about football when it comes to specific people, most times melanated people.
Okay, and I also have to say this. The team owner came out and said, in so many words, I'm paraphrasing him, so please don't think this is a quote. It's like, this is not my pick. Talking about Shedeur Sanders, saying that he would have never picked him, didn't want him. He pawned it off on the GM.
And gave no context, because I heard that quote. He gave no context as to why he wouldn't want him. So, and that's where I have a problem. Because me, Jackie Ray, if I own a team, I would say, this is not my pick because the type of offense we want it to be pass heavy. He's shown that maybe he's not as pass.
Oh, trying to get your football on. Go
ahead. I'm trying to be logical. You know, this is a new thing out here in these American streets, but I'm trying to be logical. So I would have reasons why, because people forget that there are certain schemes that a certain quarterback just might not fit into if that's the type of offense you're running.
That's right.
But when you just say full stop, he's not my pick, and you don't follow up with a why.
A football why.
A football why. It can't even be a personality why. You can't say, I don't like him. I think he has bad breath. Like, give him a minute and move on with your life if he's good at what he does. But when you just say he's not my quarterback and you leave it at that, we know, we can read the context clues. We know that it has nothing to do with football, and you either A, feel like he's too confident and this happens, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but I've been watching football my whole life. There's an expectation that black men specifically have to come in with a level of humility that white men do not have to have.
Well, there's also the history of black quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
And there's a stigma that the black quarterback does not process the game from the quarterback position as well as his white predecessors. But to your point, when the owner doesn't specify the reasons, then you leave it up to speculation, and you can't say, well, you can't say it's that. No, until you rule it out, some people are going to rule it in.
All things are on the table until you prove me otherwise.
Now, I wonder if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I would say I'm auditioning for my next team.
That's exactly what I'd be saying, because no matter what, I am hell bent on getting out.
They're not keeping 4 quarterbacks. They're not. And Shedeur Sanders is probably not going to be the starter week 1. And so they would get whoever gets Shedeur Sanders is going to get him on a discount because he was drafted in the 5th round. His contract is not going to change being traded to another team. And you can't get any worse than Cleveland, let's be honest now.
You absolutely can't. I always say that Cleveland is purgatory for football. That's where careers go to die.
I can't. I'm trying to think the last successful football player to come out of Cleveland. I'm being honest, and I know football. I'm trying to think.
I can't even.
Jim Brown.
Damn. That's about right, though.
Bernie Kosar.
I think that's about right.
Brian Sipe. I can't think of really anyone who's made their career in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's a notoriously bad team. There was once upon a time Cleveland had a thing called the dog pound because they were great defensively. I would bet my last dollar most people in the chat don't even remember that because it's been that long ago.
That was early 90s.
Yep.
Because I watched that, and that's when they messed off that playoff game. Ernest Biner fumbled at the football at the goal line.
Yep. That's the last time anybody cared about Cleveland.
Look, I know some football. Yeah. Jackie Ray, what are you talking about on your show?
Okay, so tomorrow the Jackie Ray Show is coming out. It's all about mental health and this therapy that I personally did because I don't sleep well. It's called Blink Therapy, and if it can work on my brain, I feel like it can work on anybody's because I have a stubborn brain, y'all. So you're going to check that out.
You have a great clapback.
Thank you. I'd be quick with it, right?
Who are you clapping back with in that clip that you showed me?
So I showed a clip. You can't see it on my TikTok because apparently it's not allowed, but it is on my Instagram. But there was a gentleman on my TikTok live this morning. Gentleman. That he kept doing these little comments about the WNBA. And so I was telling him places he can learn. Like if he seemed like he really wanted to learn about the WNBA. So I was like, okay, you can follow this podcast, follow this creator, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no, I absolutely won't do that because I don't like the fact that the women in the WNBA all look and sound like men. Yuck. And so then.
Okay, he's trolling.
So he's trolling. But I have a bunch of nicknames. One of them is Petty Ray. So I clicked on his picture and then I reminded him of why he should not say such things.
In other words, don't come for Jackie Ray unless she sends for you.
Amen.
And not a minute before.
Yes.
Jackie Ray, it's always good to see you.
Pleasure.